We celebrate the 4th of July as a reminder of earning our independence from a tyrannical and oppressive government. Just a reminder to the Obama administration, there's plenty of room on the calendar for another holiday.
There is at this time a very well-orchestrated attempt to divide and conquer the American people along racial lines, along class lines. It is a fourth-generation warfare, full-scale assault on this country and our institutions. It is not just military, it is that also. It's also political, it's economic, it's social, it's psychological. It's in the media, it's in the courts, you name it. Full frontal assault. And the greatest weapon right now they have is to divide and conquer us. You can see it in effect right now. Obama is not a unifier. He's the most divisive president this country has ever seen. And he's doing it intentionally. He would love nothing better than see a race war. He would love to see that. And that's what I think he's trying to do, which is exactly why we went and guarded shops in Ferguson.
And that was Stuart Rhodes, the founder and director of Oath Keepers, calling for an emergency summit in preparation for the coming economic collapse. Now, Stuart, you said that we are in a perfect storm right now and we can expect a nationwide Katrina. And I wanted to get your thoughts on what you think, what's going to happen to the average American citizen during an economic collapse?
Well, the same thing that happened to the folks in New Orleans who were also unprepared. Except worse, because now, how do you send relief from outside when the entire country is under the same circumstances? And so, people would be desperate and hungry and open to being preyed upon by both public and private criminals. And so the only way to stop that and to throw a monkey wrench into it is to make sure that we can feed our own people. We need a grain reserve like we used to have during the Cold War. That's why I encourage our guys to do these summits in every state, bring together all the veterans and all the patriots, whether they're veterans or not. We're all in this together, bring them together and get them organized into geographic teams in each corner of the state, each quadrant, to go back to their communities and get prepared. And number one is going to have to be that food reserve. If you don't have food, you're dead.
Well, that's right. And the federal government, it's not like they're going to help us. I mean, I don't see them stockpiling massive amounts of food and water and medicine. But on the other hand, they are definitely stockpiling massive amounts of weapons and ammunition, not to mention militarizing the nation's police force, which right now it resembles a standing army, And so to me, it looks like they're digging in and that they are preparing for martial law or perhaps even civil war.
Oh, absolutely. All the indicators are preparation for control and suppression of insurrection, not preparation to feed you. That's why I think that this should be no surprise. Food has been used, denial of food has been used as a weapon throughout history. I think it's part of their battle plan. They're shaping the future battle space. That's what we're doing too. Whether we're doing it right or wrong, effectively for us or not, is the question. They are making it as effective for them as possible. So I think the great weakness they have is that if we can feed ourselves, now what are they going to do? They can't starve us out. And if we're organized in mutual security as well, we have a much better chance. So that's the number one thing we must do, is come together to provide food and security for our fellow Americans in our own communities.
Well, absolutely. And I also wanted to get your take on the border situation right now, because it seems like the borders are wide open. We here at InfoWars, we talked to Texas border volunteers. They told us some very scary stories about how they're finding Muslim prayer rugs on the U.S.-Texas side of the border, Iranian cash, Arabic to English translation books. So there's no doubt that the borders are wide open. Do you think that there's active ISIS cells right now, currently right here in the United States?
Oh, we know there are. It's been confirmed.
Yeah.
We know they're across the border in Mexico. And you can basically look at it like a staging. They've staged their people right across the border. They've got advanced teams already inside the United States. They have training camps in Texas. And so now just waiting for the signal. And I think that's part of the plan. And the fact that they're not being stopped by the U.S. government lets you know exactly what the agenda is of the folks in charge right now. They want that to happen. They're not incompetent. This is part of their plan.
Well, I agree, and we both know that the U.S. government, the CIA, and the military-industrial complex, they have a long history of destabilizing other countries, overthrowing other countries. They've been doing this for a long time. They're doing it right now through proxy wars in, Libya, Syria, Iraq. And to me, it looks like it's the same game plan. They're doing it right here in the United States. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said. And I think you folks in Texas are at the epicenter. You're at the epicenter for Jade Helm. You're at the epicenter for the border crisis. And that's why we're working on a possible border project with Oath Keepers to go and start with Texas and guard the private ranchers there who are requesting assistance. So we're working on that right now. We hope to have that lined out within the next month. I think it's incredibly important for us to guard our own borders. If the U.S. government won't do it, then we should do it ourselves. And I think you Texans need to lead the way.
Well, absolutely. And I want to take a look at another clip from the speech you recently made at the emergency summit, calling for everyone to basically be prepared. This is a red alert. And ladies and gentlemen, you need to protect yourselves, and you need to be prepared to protect not only yourselves and your families, but your community.
What's your skill set? What's your MOS? What you do in the military? What you do in the police services? What do you got? Okay, you're in this team. Police officers and infantry guys over here, logistics guys over here, intelligence, communications, medical, engineering, put them in sub-teams inside that geographical quadrant. They are now sub-teams inside of that bigger team. Their job now is to hear what the threat is, to look at your state and see where your strengths and weaknesses are, to go back to their county with a plan and agenda for what they're going to do in their own county to get squared away. What's the first thing SF does when they go to a country or to a new area? An assessment, right? Exactly. Do an assessment of New York. Do an assessment of your county. John, you guys, pick one county, do a model assessment of that county. So when you hold this summit, you can hold it up and say, guys, here's how you do an assessment. Now go back to your county with this template, and you, as that group over there, you get it done. In your region and in your counties, you do your own assessments. And you know what you have to do. You got to get security, you got to get food, you got to get medicine, all the essentials. And when they go back to their counties, what's their number one priority, you think? What is it? Organization. Who do they got to wake up? The other veterans, the other patriots. And in particular, they got to go grab a hold of those business owners, the guys with money, and shake them down. Okay, Mr. Business Owner, this is going to be gone unless you donate to an emergency food bank for this county or this area to feed us. Because when the collapse comes, like in Argentina or in Germany or wherever else you've seen it throughout the world history, food is the big one. If you don't have food, you're done. This country used to have 3 years of grain reserve during the Cold War. How much we got now?
1 day.
0. Shows you what your great weakness is. You can have guns, you can have men that are willing, but if you're all hungry and your neighbors are starving, the kids are starving, they're going to beg for martial law. They're going to beg for it. So you had better be able to feed them. You need food reserves, bulk food.
So what's their end game? If they do succeed in, with martial law, and then people are begging for martial law, then what happens?
Well, it's scrapping of the Constitution and ushering us into a worldwide version of the Federal Reserve and a worldwide government. That's their absolute agenda, with the United States as kind of a third world subsidiary.
And I think it's something that they've been planning for a very long time. Do you think that this happened just with the Obama administration, or do you think that this is something that's been planned for years and years?
No, it's a long-term game over multiple decades and multiple administrations. I mean, the Republicans put in place all the mechanisms that the Democrats then use and turn inward, so that they play it together. John McCain is every bit as much of a traitor as Barack Obama or Eric Holder ever were. If in fact, he's probably worse, because he put the mechanisms in place. And George Bush and Cheney along with him too.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, and it was the late George Carlin who said the only country that will ever invade America is America. Stuart Rhodes, thank you for joining us. It's good to have you on our side.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Take care.
All right.
God bless.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for tonight's broadcast. The InfoWars Nightly News will return, Lord willing, tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time, Texas time, that is.